Hi there, it's Sam from Pootles.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today and for joining me in SPRINGWATCH. 5 video projects this week, 5 video projects the next week, all focusing on all of the new products that are coming out in the spring. Spring to us over on our side of the world. But it's the mini catalogue and the celebration brochure I'm focusing on, and I have beautiful Field and Flowers designer series paper that's free with celebration, and the stamp set Wonderful As You is in the mini catalogue, and it's just lovely. Such a nice stamp set. I thought that was really lovely. So the paper, as I said, it's free with a £45 or €60 order, and it's lovely. I showed it to you the other day. Flowers on a black background, and I'm a happy girl. I've chosen a sheet that has got a toning reverse to it because obviously that shows over, and the same with this. It had the Just Jade that showed and reflected. I happened to choose it as 8 by 12 inches, mostly because I had cut off a 4 by 12 inch piece for another project, and so I had 8 by 12 left over in this pattern, and I thought that's a good size, let's work with that. So 8 by 12 inches, 20 by 30 centimetres, and I'm just going to get a scoring tool. You score it at, on the long side, 1.5, 5 3/4, 7 1/4, and 11.5 inches, which in metric is 4, 14.5, 18.5, and 29 centimetres. Then on the short side, score it at 1.5 inches, which is 4 centimetres. And then you turn the paper over, not round, turn it over, and score it at 6.5, which is 16 centimetres. Okay, and the finished dimensions of it, it's a shallow small bag, 1.5 by 4 1/4, and then 5 all the way to that point, which is 4 by 10.5 by 12. And so to that point, we're looking at 3.5 inches, 9 centimetres to this point here. But you could close it further up, you could pinch it at the top if you wanted taller. Okay, so I'm going to burnish my score lines. There's the last one. Okay, and the bottom, well, they're actually the same top and bottom, but we folded we've scored it one in one direction and the other in the other direction. Okay, so that's going to go round like that. I'm just going to, probably should have folded first, burnished after, but you know, it's okay, doesn't matter. Right, so I'm going to run some adhesive along here. You know what, I don't actually need to use Seal Plus, but it's the one I picked up first. And I'm just going to make sure I go corner to corner and fold it over. Right, so that's my piece of paper ready for me to work with. So I'm going to take off a tiny little bit at the top, and I'm going to remove this rectangle at the bottom and cut straight on the other pieces. Some more Seal Plus down here. Folding the two sides and the back. Oh, I have come to an end. Let's refill. Okay. Seal and Seal Plus comes in these bags because although we're not particularly affected by weather on my part of the world, we're not, other climates are. So they're put in those bags so that, you know, there's no issue while transit is happening. Okay, so that's stuck down, and then you just push in with your fingers at the point where this join is, either side, and grip. Don't squash even more because we don't want those parts flat. We just want them like that. And then I didn't want to use shaded spruce, apart from the fact I haven't got any ribbon, and I didn't want to use Seaside Spray as a ribbon on its own. So I've pinched this, I've got this from the annual catalogue, and I can't remember the sweet it's from, but I tend to buy all my ribbons just because I like them. I don't tend to worry too much about whether they're from the correct sweet or not. And I've gone around 3 times just so it stays nicely closed. And tie a little bow and just trim off the excess. And that bag is a lovely shape. And like I say, you don't want to pinch in at the top. We don't want that flat. We want that open very slightly. Right. So my stamp set, as I said, Wonderful As You. I love this one, Sending Positive Thoughts. I'm actually going to keep the stamping the same as I did before. And I'm going to measure up at, I'm going to make that 1 3/4 by 2.5 inches. One and 3/4 by 2.5, and then I want a piece of basic black to go round it, which is 1/4 of an inch bigger. So I forgot what size that was. 2 inches by 2 3/4. And that will just sit nicely with the same border all the way round. And I want a bigger block than that. Actually, I don't. I'm going to stamp this one first. And I'm going to grab my memento. I'm not at all. I'm going to grab my stays on. I'll stamp that off to one side. And with a smaller block, get my flower. And just line it up again. Nestle that in there. I need that to dry for a second, so I'm going to grab my embellishments with which are the matte black dots they're called. And you've got 2 sizes, large from there downwards and smaller there. And Sorrel has just woken up. I'd been doing so well. 2 big, and I'll have 1 small up there. I want my Seaside Spray pen and my shaded spruce, and I really hope that's dry. And I'm just very quickly colouring my flower. I'm not going to zoom in because you don't need to. It doesn't need to be zoomed in. She wakes up and she gets a toy and then she runs around the house shouting at everybody, "Look, I've got a toy." Oh look, that should have been shaded spruce. And if I bring that in, there you go. So you can see I've just literally picked up the colour there. And, oh, should have glued first and then put my dots on. Doesn't matter, it's all good. And I want a couple of dimensionals on the back. Do you know what? I think she wakes up and she's like, "I'm lost, I don't know where you are, where are you?" And that is a lovely little project. Nice little gifts and treats you could put in there. Anyway, thank you ever so much for joining me. Hope to speak to you very soon. Bye.